My job, I want to set expectations and educate and then let them come to their own decision. I don't want to be that pushy, forceful agent that's like, you have to buy now, rates are going to go up, or, I don't want to put that fear into people. I want to educate them on what's the market like, what could we maybe expect in the future.
So the question is this: how do most agents find the secrets to succeed in today's competitive real estate market, especially when the top agents are keeping those secrets to themselves? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Kaczmarek, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Kaczmarek with a quick commercial break with one of our newest sponsors. I'm super excited to be partnering with these guys. Does 15 to 20% ROI investing in turnkey rentals sound attractive? Did you know you can use the BRRRR strategy with new construction that has immediate equity already? You guys have heard me talk about stuff like this. Rent to Retirement offers fully turnkey properties that are newly built or renovated, leased and managed, allowing you to invest with confidence out of state. They have single family, multifamily, new build, and syndication opportunities across multiple markets that maximize cash flow, appreciation, and equity. Rent to Retirement assists investors in learning how to build a comprehensive business plan with the best investment and tax strategies to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. There's no excuse not to get started in real estate investing when you have the right team and systems in place. To learn more, visit renttoretirement.com. That's renttoretirement.com or call 1-800-311-6781. That's 800-311-6781 to learn about how you can get started investing in some of the best cash flow markets today. And if you guys want to learn more about Zach, episode 1025, we dig in for a good 45-minute interview where he tells you the secrets to investing in real estate out of state. And him and I shared a lot of ideas about what works and what doesn't. You'll get to hear a lot about his company and his business. If you're an agent from out of state and you've got referrals looking for stuff, they work with other agents on a referral basis. And we've talked so much since COVID hit that everybody needs to have a backup plan, right? Every one of you agents needs to have a backup plan. You should all be investing in real estate. And if you're having trouble finding the time and the team to do it, maybe something like Rent to Retirement is the solution for you. So thank you for listening. Go check them out. Now back to the rest of our podcast.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Stephanie Heiser, your guest host today, and I am interviewing Emily Kaczmarek from Chicago. She is a rock star agent and was recently named a 30 under 30 on Realtor magazine, and we are so excited to see what tips and tricks and insights she has for us today. Hey, Emily, thanks for being here.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I've actually been listening to this podcast for a while now. So it's really exciting that I finally get to, be a guest and share my insight and my story.
That's so fun. When I was first interviewed on the podcast, I was obsessive. I loved listening to Real Estate Rockstars. And then to be interviewed was, I feel like, the peak of everything in my life. And it was so much fun. And the connections I made after my episode aired was amazing. And then somehow my episode was the most downloaded in 2021 and led to me. Yeah, I found out with everyone else when Aaron released the episode of the top 10. I was like, wait, I think he just said my name. What? It was so unreal.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And then now we're having the mastermind in May, and I just love our community of real estate rock stars. Do you have any favorite episodes that stand out in your mind?
Gosh, I don't think there's a single episode that really stands out. I do love the mix of, getting past 30 under 30 winners on it. And then some market updates. And I do remember your interview as well, which was really good. So I don't know. It's just I love that, it's always different content, and it's, Yeah, it's just something I always turn on in my car when I'm driving to showings and closings and everything. So altogether, it's just really, really great content.
Sweet. So you know all that's coming at you. So tell us how and when and why you got into real estate and what your first year was like.
Yeah. So let's go back to, like 5 years ago, I was working a corporate job in downtown Chicago, and I was in my mid-20s, and I was just like, you know what, like a couple years out of college, I wasn't feeling like I was doing what I was set out to do, like what I could do with, with my time, I just was always looking for more. So I was at my job and I was really looking like, all right, I want to get promoted. I want to do this. So I worked really hard, and I realized, the harder that I worked, it wasn't necessarily like paying off. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really loved my job and I loved the people, but it was like, all right, I have to take matters in my own hands if I'm going to be that person that's impatient and, always wanting the next thing. So, and I had come from a family of realtors. So my 3 out of the 4 of my grandparents were realtors. Neither of my parents were, which was kind of funny, but it was just something that I had always thought about in the back of my mind. And I finally, one day realized like, I'm not really happy with what I'm doing. So I have to take a risk, and I am the most like risk averse person. So like for me, signing up for the real estate class and taking the test was a really big risk for me. And I got into it, started doing a lot of rentals. I loved it. And it came to a point where I had like 3 under contract, and I was still working my, 40-hour a week corporate job. And I was like, all right, well, I can't be like taking all these calls during work from attorneys and, going to inspections like while I'm working. So I had to make a decision, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this real estate thing. And I ended up leaving my corporate job couple of months later, and I stayed on as like a consultant, kind of bridged the gap between that and real estate. And then, eventually transitioned into real estate full time.
And in your first year, how many transactions did you do?
My first year, I did 9 transactions. I think it was about 3 million, maybe a little bit less. I wasn't really expecting too much. I mean, I did about like, a handful of rentals, probably 10, 15 rentals also. So I was doing a fair amount of rentals just to get my feet wet in real estate. But yeah, I definitely knew what to expect. So I was happy with that and knew that I just had to keep
first year.
Yeah. I just knew I had to keep pushing myself to get better. But I'd say, first year, I was pretty happy with what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was 5 years ago?
That was about 4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so you received a 30 under 30 feature in the Realtor magazine, and you've been in real estate for
like
not
3.5 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So what led you to think about being 30 under 30, and what was that whole process like?
So I guess, that kind of started, so when I got into real estate, I knew I needed like a mentor. And I had talked a little bit with one of my best friend's cousins, and she kind of like was a good mentor to have. And she brought me into the brokerage she was at, that her and her mom were at, and they were really great resources. And but also there was another agent at a different office that I had seen something on social media, and she she was being nominated for the 30 under 30. This was like shortly after maybe like within the first year that I got into real estate. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you want to meet up for coffee? And she was like, of course. We met up and she was like the best. She was the most helpful. Like, I was like, I was like starstruck. I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's like, and you know, she was giving me all this great insight and she genuinely wanted to help me. And I was genuinely interested in learning and getting more involved in real estate and just in general. And she was involved at the local level of the local realtor organization. And she brought me into the YPN committee. So I joined that. And this year I'm actually the vice chair, and next year I'll be the chair of our local YPN. So that's been really exciting. And I think everything since then just kind of spiraled. It was me putting myself sometimes in uncomfortable situations, to push my, boundaries a little bit and get myself out there within the realtor community and also with my own sphere. So like doing a lot of things on social media. So I think it really, what got me from the start to 30 under 30 was, just making myself uncomfortable and doing a lot of things, trying a lot of things and seeing what works and what, I was happy doing.
And how many transactions did you do last year?
So last year was my third full year in the business. And last year I did 29 transactions.
Wow. And how many do you think you'll do this year?
I'm hoping to do around the same. So this year for me is kind of like a rebuild year. Also combined with the fact that this is just like a crazy market and I'm primarily a buyer's agent. So, I do I'd say last year I was 75, 25 buyers to sellers. This year I'll probably do more like 60, 40. Cause I do have some more listings, which is great. But it's definitely harder to get buyers under contract right now. So it's been a lot of work with, not as much instant, results. But yeah, I'm hoping to potentially hire someone on as a buyer's agent this year. So I'm kind of just trying to maintain my, my sales, my volume. And then hopefully next year I'll build it up a lot.
That is a really good point. I love how you put that because on these podcasts and shows, we get asked a lot what our numbers are, what our volume was, how many transactions we did. But there are years that are so important to not scale. I mean, every year it's just not sustainable to keep doubling your numbers by any means.
Right.
And you have to make the correct hire. You have to get your automations in place. You have to get your CRM and your systems and everything solid before you take the next step. If you want to do it and salvage some of your sanity all at the same time. Now, I didn't do it that way. I just the floodgates opened and I started drowning from day one because of the market and because of where I lived and because of converting online leads really well. But you are just doing everything step by step and maintaining a healthy work-life balance, it seems.
Well, we're trying, but it's hard. It's tough in this market. I was just telling someone, I am just so tired. I think it's just months of, this crazy market kind of building up to now. But yeah, to your point, going from the year before last year to last year, I almost tripled my volume. So, now I'm kind of realizing I could do that again, or I could strive to do a lot more, but I realized my systems weren't in place. And I got to a point last year where I was like, oh my God, I'm tired. I need to look at how to improve, my business and how to, make the most sense out of the time that I have and really think more strategically about how I want to move forward. So that's kind of where I came to the point where, okay, I need to like replicate myself, because I have a pretty wide area that I drive to for buyers. So I need to be able to have someone else fill in for me when I'm going from, the city to the outskirts of the suburbs. It's not always feasible to do that every day.
Definitely not. So what has been a system that has been the most helpful for you to work smarter, not harder?
I've realized that, so in the beginning, I did a lot of like dabbling and trying different things. In the beginning, I was calling some expireds and FSBOs, which now there aren't as many expired. Hard to convert. So I think I did get one, but I mean, it's just like you put a lot of effort into that, and then you don't always see it pay off. So my strategy was to really focus in on one thing and do it really well. So having a system and a process for my first time buyer workshop that me and a lender host once a month. Just being able to replicate that process every month has been really great, because I'm able to get people in and then start, nurturing them and, prospecting them. It's a good way to build trust too with clients. So I found that to be something that was successful. But it did take a lot of, setting up all the systems to get that to work between Zoom, Eventbrite, marketing it through Facebook and Instagram. And that's definitely something that I didn't realize it was going to take as long and as much effort as it did. But in the end, I'm glad I spent that time. And a lot of it was like during the beginning of COVID, which, we weren't necessarily allowed to go out and sell, and people were kind of scared. So I just sat in my office every day, like trying to develop this process and the strategy and all the content that goes along with that.
So your first time buyer seminars are all online?
Yeah, so that's the funny thing. Initially, when I first started thinking about doing these buyer seminars, I wanted them to be in person. I wanted it to be like a wine event at like a winery, and like, do like a wine tasting, like kind of like build that small business up, but also, have the home buyer workshop aspect incorporated with it. But then all of a sudden COVID hits, and I'm like, okay, we need to reposition this. How can I still do this? Obviously it's to take it online. And yeah, we started doing them about a year, almost 2 years ago now. Wow, that's crazy. But the first few were pretty successful. And then I noticed a little bit of drop off. And I think that's where most people may get discouraged. But I think the important thing is just staying consistent. So even those months that we were getting just a handful of people, we were like, all right, this is still worth it. If we get one buyer out of this, great. That was worth our time. And then it just started building up from there. So that's something that we've just been really consistent with.
And do you partner with the same lender for all of your seminars?
Yes, I do. I've found that makes it the easiest, and we're on the same schedule, and you really have to have full trust in that lender, because you're going all in on it. But he's been a great business partner to work with, and he always does a really good job for my clients. So I couldn't be happier with how the workshops have been going and his partnership.
That's great. And that attracts a lot of buyers, and you're trying to pivot and be more focused on sellers. What do you do to attract sellers?
Honestly, I don't do too much to attract sellers right now. It's, and I plan to eventually. Right now, I'm not like, I live in a certain area, but I don't know if I'm going to end up here long term. So I don't want to start doing all this farming and prospecting in this area. necessarily, but what I've realized is a lot of my seller clients are like referrals from past clients or sphere or friends and family of my sphere. So that's where I really focus a lot of my time and effort, is maintaining those relationships. And it's been great. I have gotten some from like open houses. Like I had a listing recently. The sellers were people that I met from my gym. And this couple walks in and they were not necessarily looking at a house, but they were kind of interviewing agents to see who they would want to sell their house. So I got to talking with them, and now I'm listing their house. Actually, we're tomorrow. So, it's just building relationships with people. So that's what I focus on, is the people that I already know well, and those people that can speak to my my character and my knowledge.
Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Honoree Emily Kaczmarek, and I'm interrupting myself to bring you this commercial break from one of our sponsors. And I know you guys would much rather listen to the content and not the ads and not the sponsors, but this is one that I'm actually super, super excited with. So many of the realtors that we interview on the show, they talk about how much systems are important and how much follow-up is important. And I'm really, really excited about our new sponsor. There's somebody I've been looking at for a long time. And when they reached out to me, I said, yes, we have to be able to do this deal. So that sponsor is Follow Up Boss. On an interview last week with agent Mark McGuire, I asked him what his favorite software and what his favorite system was. And he said it was Follow Up Boss. And then he went on for another 3 or 4 minutes to talk about why Follow Up Boss was the best CRM he uses. So there's a lot of superstars out there that use Follow Up Boss. Some of the stats they gave me: Robert Slack, 1.5 billion team in Florida, #1 in the US. He uses Follow Up Boss to get a 400% ROI on its massive paid lead spend. Deborah Beagle, co-owner of the Ashton Group in Nashville, uses Follow Up Boss to guarantee that agents who join her team get 2 homes under contract in the first 90 days. That's a big guarantee for new agents. Barry Jenkins of Your Friends in Real Estate uses Follow Up Boss to automate everything so his team can produce 200 million on 25-hour work weeks. All right, so here's an offer. You guys are going to get this special for being Real Estate Rockstars listeners. Now, I've used Follow Up Boss. We've actually used it in our non-real estate businesses as well, because it's so good at being able to set timers, set automatic texting and emailing, and what do you know? Best name ever, Follow Up. So here's what we got. For Real Estate Rockstars listeners, you get a 30-day free trial. That's normally 14 days. So in order to get this, you go followupboss.com/rockstars. So again, followupboss.com, just like it sounds, /rockstars. Go there, get your 30-day free trial, and check it out. Especially if you aren't using any systems or any CRMs yet, this will be a great one for you to start with. All right, everybody, thanks again. Now back to our show.
That's awesome. So what is the market like where you are? Are you guys getting offers that are 10% over asking, 50% over asking? I've experienced that in the Joshua Tree market especially. But in my other market, offers are maybe 5 to 10% over asking. So what does it look like in Chicago?
So where I'm at in the suburbs, I would say it's pretty much everything's going for above asking. And we did see, like, there was one deal I had where I was one of 31 offers, and that one was originally listed around 250 and went for like a little over 20,000 above list price. So that's pretty common. Now I think it's settling down a little bit, just with interest rates going up and buyers having to reevaluate. Okay, like, what is my budget now? If they're still looking since, a couple months ago. But yeah, it's still competitive out there. I would say maybe not as much so. And I have started seeing some more listings pop up, which is good. We need that inventory. So I'm hoping it calms down a little bit so that buyers that have been looking for the past couple months have a chance to, to get something and not feel like they're like severely overpaying for it.
Yeah. Are you having appraisal gaps? Do you get offers accepted that have the appraisal contingency, or do people have to like waive everything and give their left kidney and their first kid to get offers accepted? Or what tips and tricks do you use to get accepted?
So I would say it depends. I have had some that have gotten accepted without an appraisal gap. But I would say primarily, what I've experienced is, going in as is. That's pretty much, I'm telling buyers they pretty much have to do that. Now, I don't know if that's going to stay the same if we start seeing some more inventory and the market starts leveling a little bit. But appraisal gap waivers, yeah, I definitely have had buyers do that. And it's really important to ensure that they understand what that means. So that's why I really stress that that partnership with my lender, like that client that was that beat out the 30 other offers on that one property. We were on the phone, my lender, myself, and the clients were on the phone on a Sunday night at like 11 p.m., like talking over different scenarios. And really, because my job, I work mostly with first-time buyers. So I really, I stress the importance of educating them and, really ensuring that they understand what this process is. And now with the market being the way it is, it's a little more nuanced and complicated, but you still have to do your job as an agent. You still have to ensure that they understand everything that's going on. So we ended up, getting it, I think, because we were able to help them, in that moment when it mattered. So yeah, that was a situation where we had to put an appraisal gap waiver, but it did appraise. I'm not seeing too many issues with appraisals. But again, I have heard of some. So I think it just depends on the area and the appraiser. Yeah,
for sure. And you could have 3 different appraisers at one property and get 3 different numbers. So I try to educate my clients that, like, especially in the desert, we don't have a lot of subdivisions and neighborhoods. So it's really hard to comp. And then we have like a 900 square foot house that will sell for $500,000 because it's super Instagrammable and very high priced on Airbnb. And they're selling it basically as a business. And then I'll have someone with an old, outdated 1,500 square foot traditional home that's like, well, if they got 500, I should get $1 million. Mm-hmm. And I just try to explain, like, that house is more of a business, even though appraisals don't, of course, evaluate them that way. But right. It's just not the same. Like, someone will have to buy your house and renovate it, and maybe they'll live in it, and they have to be able to afford that mortgage. But if they're buying a house that's a short-term rental, they don't have to afford the mortgage necessarily, because someone else is going to be paying it and they're going to be profiting off of it. So right. Do you guys have short-term rentals going on out there, or are you further out in the suburbs to where short-term rentals aren't a big deal? Yeah, I don't think that I don't do a lot of short-term rentals. I could see that being maybe a bigger deal so there was a racetrack that just sold, and apparently the Chicago Bears are going to move out to the suburbs now, which is really close to where I'm at currently. And I could see that playing a bigger role in, once they've built the stadium and everything, if that's still going to plan, I could see that being a bigger market here. But for now, it's, I don't deal with any short-term rentals. That makes life so much easier when your client is a specific type and you can really focus your marketing and your systems on them and not have to juggle first-time home buyers and investors and seasoned investors versus new investors. They're all different beasts. So I think it's really brilliant that you focus on your desired clientele and build everything around what that person would need, like your seminars and your education and having your lender that is willing to have 3-way phone calls with you. What else makes a good lender? I think it's hard for buyers and new agents to understand the importance of having a good lender. Lenders can like make or break the whole transaction. And people that get pre-approval letters, pre-qualification letters from like clicking 5 buttons on a website, think they're fully qualified. And then a local lender who understands the market and the appraisals and the systems and can do a little more verification of income and debt to income ratios is great. But what else can make a lender stand out?
I think a lender needs to be similar to an agent where they're more involved in the process. They, every time I go out with clients that are, the clients are working with that specific lender, I'll text them and say, hey, we're going out to these properties. And then right after, I know if a client really, is interested in one of the properties, I'll send it over to them and they'll run the numbers. And then, we'll put it in an email so that the client can maybe ask questions like, if I put down 10% versus 15 versus 20, what would the payments be? He'll spit that out, send it right back. He's just very attentive and always, answering things as quickly as he can, even on weekends. A lender's job is similar to an agent's where you kind of have to be on the clock 24/7, 365. So having a lender that understands that and, I'm able to text them on a Sunday night and they're able to give me a pre-approval right away is so important, because if you can't, a pre-approval is part of the offer. So if you don't get that from your lender, you could be missing out on a property for your client. So, and also just having that consultative role. So, my lender and I, every time after someone's interested in buying, they'll fill out the application. Us three will get on a call together, a Zoom call, and we will go through all the numbers with them. And we'll answer all their questions when it comes to like their finances. And I kind of just sit in and, I'm there as the real estate resource, just in case anything comes up that they want to know. But it's just, we want to be sure that they understand and they're comfortable with the whole process, just because it's the worst thing to have a client who just, they don't trust you completely because they don't completely understand what they're going through. So I've always found that after those meetings, like my clients are like, oh, I could take a sigh, a deep breath. Like I feel so much better actually going through the numbers, because I think that's what trips up a lot of people.
Yeah, that is really important that you educate your buyers beforehand and spend so much time before their offer is even accepted, instead of educating them after the offer is accepted, because especially with interest rates rising, all those numbers can be a shock. So it's important to educate them from the beginning before even starting the process, so that they are empowered with the knowledge. And then I imagine that keeps your offers your escrows from falling out when the buyer's like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this, or this is too stressful. So you alleviate a lot of the stress before they get into the really stressful part of having their offer accepted.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's important too in this market to really understand what buyers are motivated enough to compete in this competitive marketplace. Because sometimes people will sit through a webinar, a workshop, or we'll start talking with them and they realize, ooh, I don't know, like if this is the right time for me to buy. And they kind of realize it on their own. They might want to save up some more money. They might have like a promotion coming in their near future and they want to get approved for more. That's great. We're always here when you're ready, but our job right now is to give you that information. And obviously we want to make the most of our time so that we're working with the people that are, I'm ready to buy 100%. So we can focus our time on those people and not spend so much time showing clients that maybe aren't even ready to commit, and end up, having it fall apart when it's under escrow, like you mentioned. So I think it's that education piece prior to even going out to look at properties is so, so important, especially in a market like this.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want a client falling in love with a house and then they just don't stand a chance at the offer at all. And then you just wasted your time, you wasted their time. So that's a really, really smart point to get all of your education out, like be very preemptive in your strikes. So that way you save time later. And when you're, spending that time and they may come back to you later when they are more prepared because they have that education versus going through the heartache of having your offer accepted, then feeling overwhelmed and stressed out and getting out of home buying altogether. They're, I would assume, less likely to come back to you and remember you because they were just so overwhelmed with the negatives of the experience.
Yep. My job, I want to set expectations and educate and then let them come to their own decision. I don't want to be that pushy, forceful agent that's like, you have to buy now, rates are going to go up, or, I don't want to put that fear into people. I want to educate them on what's the market like, what could we maybe expect in the future? My lender and I also go through scenarios of like what's the cost of waiting, which is important for them to know, but they also know their own situation and their timeline. So sometimes, it's good to know what, waiting could cost you, but at the same time, it just might not be the right time for them right now. And that's okay. I found that that's the best way to make for happy clients and then, educate them now and, maybe they have to rent for another year, but if they're happy with my service, they'll come back in a year. They'll come back in 6 months and say, hey, I'm ready to start looking again. And that's the whole goal, is to, just establish that trust with people and be that real estate advisor, so that, even down the road, you get people coming back and they're happy with your service.
Yeah, it seems like you've got that all down, and all of your repeat business and your referrals, just your business is growing. And it's true, it really snowballs. Once your business gets traction, then it picks up really quickly. So I love that you're being mindful and taking steps to scale in a way that will be great for your business and great for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for those agents out there that are maybe in their first or second year, they're just getting started. Don't feel defeated. Because for me, like my first 2 years were pretty stagnant, but then, I would say in the third year it snowballed. And I think this year, it's a tough year, but I think it's still, I'm getting like a lot of leads and referrals and, and it's a tough market, but I think, once it levels out a bit more, then, it's going to keep snowballing. And, I'm so thankful that that's how I'm, treating this business, and, it will pay off. You just have to be patient.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything you want to end off with before you tell our listeners where to find you?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think everybody who's listening to this, like, great job for getting out there and educating yourselves, is, whether you're in the real estate profession or in the industry, or even if you're not, it's good to continue to learn. And that's always something that I strive to do, is just to keep an open mind and keep listening to other people, their experiences. And, if they have tips and tricks, it's good to take that with a grain of salt. So if there's anything, you want to reach out to me about, like, definitely, I'd be happy to help or chat.
Awesome. So where can they find you?
They can find me. I would say Instagram's probably the best for me. My Instagram handle is Emily Jane, EmilyJane _real estate. My last name is confusing, so I don't even try to incorporate that into my social media. I just use my first and middle name. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, or and from there you can, I have a link tree that links out to my website and all of that good stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and congrats on being 30 under 30. That's so amazing. And thank you. Thanks, Real Estate Rockstar listeners. We will see you next time.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui jumping in again to thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully you guys loved listening to that one. And I want to make sure that you know about all of the extra resources that we have. And also, we need your help. They say podcasts are free. You get to listen to podcasts for free. But what is the cost of that podcast? I would say, if I could beg you to pay anything for that podcast, I would say the cost of the podcast is going and giving a review. So whether you download it on Google or Apple or YouTube or anywhere else, please go give us a review. Say what you liked, what you didn't like. It helps us get better guests. The more reviews, the higher we get in the rankings. Right now, we are the biggest podcast out there for real estate agents, and we want to keep that spot because we know there's lots of podcasts out there. So go give us a review. Also, be sure to go to hibandigital.com. If you liked any of the resources that those real estate agents talked about, we've got a huge video vault of those resources for free. Every penny that comes on the podcast that we interview, they give us something that helps them get their deals or helps them work with their clients. And we put that in the toolbox in our vault for you. So go to hibandigital.com and you can get it. If you're looking for real estate education, go to rebusuniversity.com. We have all sorts of courses in there to help agents succeed in real estate. How to get the listing, how to negotiate deals, how to become an investor, all sorts of different stuff, rebusuniversity.com. And if you want to chat with me, go find me on Instagram. And if you come find me on Instagram, you can send me messages. Tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. We try to put a bunch of content out there too. You can find me in 2 different places. It's at rerockstars.com for our Real Estate Rockstars page, or at aaronmuchastegui.com for my personal Instagram page, where I can chat with you about all sorts of different things. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again soon.